Hey everyone, so today's video is just going to be a quick one on another AliExpress band, and this one is the magnetic loop band that I actually ordered. Now this one wasn't exactly cheap. I think it was priced around about £10, considering the price of all the other sort of AliExpress bands that you get. This one was supposed to be the leather loop, the leather magnetic loop. However, as you will see from some of these shots, if I can get it to focus, it's not exactly leather. It feels like a sort of silicone material, and this is pretty much what you're probably going to get with anybody who's selling a leather loop. So what I'll do is I'll get it fitted and we'll just take another look at it. Okay, so here we have the band fitted, and if we just take a look at it, so the smaller end is supposed to be at the top and the bigger one's at the bottom, and then it literally just loops on. Now the problem with this is, firstly, the seller that I actually purchased this from didn't actually have any additional sizes listed, so it was literally just one size. So the fit is, as you can see from there, it's almost right to the end, and that's still loose. It's not the best in terms of actually getting it on, because you have to actually be very deliberate in terms of, it's not like the sport loops where you can literally just pull it tight and tighten it. This one you have to actually hold it in quite tightly. The other thing that I've noted since actually putting it on, and obviously I've not used this for very long at all, is that all of the magnets are actually quite uncomfortable. I'm guessing that the genuine items, because they will have actual leather, it'll dampen it down slightly more, but because these are essentially doubled up, because obviously they're locking on top of each other, if they don't quite sit in the grooves of each one, then what you find is you can actually feel the individual magnets pressing against your wrist. Now obviously you could loosen it off and use that as an option, but that kind of defeats the purpose of using these bands essentially. So if I try and do it this way, loop it over, see that's not tight enough. So for me, this isn't a band that I would actually recommend. For anybody that's used the magnetic loop before, it'll be interesting to see what their impressions of the new one. The old one, obviously, it didn't have these pill-shaped ones. They basically go right to the end, and it had more like squared off sections. Now looking at the pictures, I did actually prefer the pictures of this new style one, because of the pill-shaped design, and it just seems to look a bit better. But obviously, a couple of the things that you note straight away is on the adverts for this one, it actually had it listed with a brown interior. So the inside of the band was supposed to have been brown, and the outside was meant to be in blue. The blue is obviously on the outside, but it's also got blue on the inside as well. So for that reason, obviously it's not one that I would personally recommend. It's probably going to last long enough, so obviously if you do buy it and you're using this in work environments or anything like that, it's probably going to be quite durable. Obviously ignore the protective casing. I've got that on there just because it actually makes it a bit easier to grip when you're adding and removing bands. So I do actually leave that on whenever I'm doing these videos, but generally around the house I don't actually wear this, simply because obviously I bought it for work, and as you can see it's doing its job. But yeah, coming back to the band itself, it's not one that I would actually recommend. So for anybody out there that's looking at the various different types on AliExpress and other sites similar, this isn't one that I would personally wear. Obviously when I first got it, I've had it for a couple of days now, and basically I did a few tests around the house, and I just couldn't find any situation where this was actually comfortable for me. As soon as you fit it, in order to get the fit that all of the other bands that I've basically purchased have, it's just not comfortable enough. That's why I keep opting back to my tried and trusted, which is the original, the factory or the Apple product, braided loop. So here we have the original braided loop, and as you can see, it's so easy to put on and is so comfortable. And I think the key thing that I've actually realized, and the reason I like this particular band so much, is because it's breathable. And that's something that I didn't really consider when I was looking at additional bands, and especially with something like this where you've got a solid material and basically you've this is probably waterproof. So in terms of me using this for work, it's probably great because I can just take it off, wash it down and everything, and it won't affect the actual band because it's not actually leather. Whereas if it was actual leather, then you'd hope that it'd patina and maybe change the look a little. But the original braided loop for me, yes, it's expensive, but the more of these types of bands that I actually use, the more I realize that this is probably worth every single penny. And especially if you're buying one of the Series 6s and you've got the option of buying this with the watch, I would definitely recommend at this stage that you actually buy it with a braided loop, because everything that you compare this against, you're probably going to find is less of a product. So yeah, that's today's video anyway. Hopefully this helps some of you guys out there, as with some of my previous videos that you guys have already commented that you've managed to get there in time and cancel the orders. With this one, it is a little bit more subjective. There's nothing wrong with the actual product itself. It does, as you'll see, it does latch on, and that is quite strong. Like, I do have to put in a lot of force to actually pull all that away, and yet the magnets aren't even lined up properly. So if I actually put this on correctly, as you can see, it does actually pull it up. So if I hold that up, I was probably about a couple of centimeters away there, and it still pulled it up, and it'll latch on. So it's not going anywhere. So it does do its job. But for me, it's just a comfort thing. It's just not a comfortable band. And that's not something that you want. The more of these that I try out, the more bands that I actually try out, the more I realize that the key thing is you want something that is so comfortable that you don't actually feel it. You don't want to feel the band either pressing, and you also don't want something so loose that your sensors aren't actually working and you're defeating the purpose of having the Series 6, where you've got all that monitoring going on in the background. The other thing is overnight. This is the only band that I've actually tried that when I wake up in the morning, I don't have no pressure points on my wrist from the watch pressing in too hard, and I don't have no pressure point on my wrist from the actual band itself. So if you take it off, obviously you've got a little bit of a pattern because it's pressing against your skin essentially, but you don't have that sort of redness and the sweaty feeling that you get with all your silicone and similar bands, where essentially they've pressed against your skin so much. And especially overnight when you're rolling around, you're going to be leaning on your wrist and you're going to have it in positions where you wouldn't normally, in normal daily use, you wouldn't probably do that. But obviously overnight when you're not really thinking, obviously you're asleep, and for me especially, I know I sleep on my wrist, so for me overnight, if it's possible, so if I'm not working the next day, this is the band I actually go with. From a durability standpoint, as you can see, no fraying or anything on this particular band. I don't use it for work, so obviously there is that, so it's not being used in a work environment, but around the house obviously I'm still putting it on, taking it off, doing all the normal things that you would do with it. And I've put it on upside down, but with this, because it's so easy, you can just flip it around. So yeah, that was a quick look at the magnetic leather loop. As I say, not for me, but obviously any of you guys out there that might be interested in it, this is just a closer look at what you're actually getting. You will get this sort of fake leather look, if you like, the grain of the leather that they actually print onto it. But I mean, you can tell from the profile view that this is not leather. A leather would actually have some sort of a join, because this is just one single piece that's been pressed or molded around the magnets. It means that they can actually do it in that particular way. So yeah, hopefully this helps some of you guys out there. If it does, obviously leave me a comment down in the comment section below. If you haven't already done so, please do subscribe to the channel. I will have more bands coming, and I will have more videos coming for you guys as well.